It's a great day. My name is Jay Brown, the Happy Entrepreneur, and welcome to the Happy Entrepreneur Show, the number one business development and revenue focused late night show in the country where we are on a mission. And our mission really is to empower, our mission is to inspire, and our mission is to provide you, that's right, you, the hard working entrepreneur, with all of the resources that are necessary to execute that big vision you have for the people you were called to serve. And in this episode, we have the one and only Stacy Hawkins Adams. She's in the building, and she'll be talking about, one, how to be an effective communicator, but more importantly, using speaking and writing to get your message out. Writing? Why are we still writing? I'll find out. What's going on, Stacy? How you doing?
I'm doing well. Thank you for having me.
Thank you for being here. We appreciate it. Before we get started, ladies and gentlemen, we'll get into her backstory. I know some of you are reading her bio. We'll get into how famous she is. And some of you already know her all over the world. Some of you are meeting for the first time. I get it. But before we get started, I got to address the elephant in the room, which is, why do you feel people are still so afraid of even speaking? Nobody talk about writing and speaking, but why is speaking still a fear to so many people these days? What's your view of the world?
You know, fear speaking is named to be one of the top fears. That's where I was headed with that in the world. And I think it's because speaking and writing, they both require vulnerability. They require you to be center stage, people to kind of see you and view you, and you can't kind of hide behind a shield when you're using your own words. So I think that's what makes people fearful of it sometimes.
And one of the things you talk about often, and we'll get into that about, is about writing and sharing your story. But a number of folks struggle with thinking they have a story. But before that, why is writing still so important today in an age where we have reels on Instagram? We can go to TikTok and watch something. Why are people still slowing down to read? I'll ask that question. I know it's a loaded question, but I'm curious.
Yeah, well, reading and writing can be healing. Reading and writing can help you grow. Reading and writing can help you know yourself better, and it can help you understand other people better. So, in the world we live in, it's a fast and busy world. There's so much going on that's not positive. If you want to work on yourself, if you want to grow, if you want to increase your joy, you want to just be a better person, reading and writing really can help foster that.
Now you can't just leave us hanging, ladies and gentlemen. Don't worry. We're gonna come back to her bio. We're gonna find out more about her. But she said reading can be and writing can be healing. Can you take a moment and tell us what you mean by that? Because healing means different things to different people. So what do you mean by that, please?
So, there's an old saying, which I think is true in some ways, that if you want to hide something from certain people, you put it in a book because they wouldn't bother to go there. I think some of us have grown up hearing that saying, and that's because knowledge is power, and knowledge is found through reading. So if you're like, oh, I don't have time to read novels, I don't like to read novels, you can read a nonfiction book, a leadership book. If you're a person of faith, you can read a faith-based devotional. You can just read scriptures that empower you. If you're raising a child, there's a book on how to better raise your children. If you do love fiction, you can read fiction that helps you understand another part of the world, that helps you understand someone who's very different from you, to help you see yourself reflected in it. And so that's why I say it's healing, because once you take those words in, if you're reading them, it really is opening and expanding your mind. It's like, wow, okay, it really just helps you grow as a person. And then on the flip side of that, if you are a writer, there's research that shows even sitting at a computer and writing is fine. But if you're taking time to write longhand, which very few of us do these days, writing by longhand, getting a pen or a pencil and writing in a journal or writing on a piece of paper, there's something about that that helps with your writing stick to your brain. It sticks in your memory, but it also kind of fuels, it just opens you up to start to share more.
I love what you're saying. We're gonna get into what she's done, ladies and gentlemen. But before we get started, it's not a therapy session, I promise you. But I know some of you might be thinking, I don't have a story. How do I know I have a story? Is going to be the question. How do I know I have a story? Because I'm not any different than anybody else. I'm just someone that's a parent. I'm someone that goes to work every day. I've had some challenges. So, when you're talking to folks and helping them through this, how do you help them understand that they do have a story deep inside them that could be relevant, not only healing for them, but healing for someone else? That's the question.
Well, I'm a former newspaper reporter. So for 15 years, I spent my career telling the stories of other people. And I told the stories of everyone from governors and dignitaries and wealthy people and athletes, major stories of major figures, all the way to stories of an 80-year-old gentleman who was raising his 6-year-old step grandson, the story of a mother working her way off of welfare, the story of a father who just left jail and was trying to figure out how to connect emotionally with his children. Every single person has a story, and it's really relevant mostly to the people around you, but sometimes there's something about your personal journey that can help other people live better and have hope to keep going forward.
Wow. As you were sharing that, and that's so true, by the way. I can't wait. Take a moment if you can, because there's someone right now cooking in the kitchen. They're like, Shay, this sounds good. I'm listening to the podcast. It's in my ears, but I don't know who this person is. I really don't. She sounds like she knows what she's doing, but I don't know. I heard a little bit about her. Someone else might be right now listening to us in the background while they're working. Thank you so much. Without you, we don't have a show. So we appreciate every one of you who take time with us. Take a moment and tell them your backstory and how you got to doing what you're doing now and why you're so passionate about it. You know, the question, who are you? They want to know.
Yes, that's a long story. I'll try to give you the Cliff Notes version of Stacy Hawkins Adams. I will say I currently live in Virginia. I've lived here for many years, but I grew up in a small town in Arkansas. And when I learned how to read in kindergarten around age 5, somehow I figured out I could write as well. I started writing short stories and poems at the tender age of 5, 6 years old. And I had an older sister who was in graduate school at the time, back in the days of typewriters. So she would take my stories and poems and type them up and give them back to me and say, here's your book. So at that earliest of ages, my relatives, people in my community, they all saw me as a writer. They would ask me to write poems for people's birthdays. They would ask me to recite poems and just do different things with my writing. I wrote my fourth grade class play because my fourth grade teacher believed in me. My fifth grade teacher sent a poem that I wrote to a local official, and they hung it on the office for other local officials to see. So I've always known I was a writer, and I've always seen the impact of that writing. And I always wanted to write books. And so as I got into a little bit older, into middle school and high school, I started to realize, oh, I don't want to be a starving artist. What other kind of writing can I do? And I discovered journalism. So I went to college, majored in journalism. As I said, I was a newspaper reporter for 15 years. I covered social issues, and did that. And while I was in the middle of that career, that writing bug to write fiction came back to me. And shortly after my second child was born, he was about 9 months old. And I remember something for me, because I'm a person of faith. It was God woke me up at about 3 a.m. in the morning. And it was not an audible voice, but there was a voice or speaking to my spirit that said, you don't want to be 85 years old or in your 80s someday, encouraging your great grandchildren to live their dreams and you didn't live yours. And the very next morning, still working a full time job as a newspaper reporter with two young children, I started getting up at 4 a.m. I did that 3 times a week. 4 a.m. to 6 a.m. I would write before I went to work. I would work on my novel, and I published two novels, or had two novels nationally published. But when I was still a newspaper reporter, and then since then I've gone on to write more, and I have 12 books published. So that would be 9 novels or 9 fiction books and 3 nonfiction books.
No, congratulations to you. What do you enjoy most about what you're doing these days? I mean, you didn't stop, and there are a range of books, and we're going to tell them how to connect with you and get the books and so forth. But what do you enjoy most about what you're doing after you've written a book?
Writing a book is the hard part. Sometimes that's not fun because you got to isolate yourself, especially when you're writing fiction. You kind of got to, like, I call it going to the writing cave on those sunny days. If you've got a deadline, you've got to close the blinds. So in writing, it's finishing, it's reaching the end. But what I really love most is what you were kind of hinting at earlier, like everybody has a story. I think everybody has a purpose. And even though I knew as a child that I had a gift as a writer, it wasn't until about maybe 10 years ago that I truly figured out what I think my true purpose is. And my purpose is to be an encourager. And that's what I love most about what I do. The books that I have written, I've heard from readers that yes, it's fiction, but it's life changing fiction. These fictional stories have helped people make amazing turns in their life. Even I've heard from a person who was thinking about committing suicide, and the novel helped her go get help. I've written nonfiction essays. I'm a former newspaper columnist. I've written 2 columns. So just hearing how the writing that I've done, fiction, nonfiction, journalism, I do inspirational messages through my social media. I send out newsletters. Just knowing how I'm encouraging other people, that's what really gives me the most joy.
You're doing some great things, and I'm going to talk about one book in particular, ladies and gentlemen. Then I'm going to ask her, for someone out there that in a minute that wants to one, tell their story, what's one or two recommendations she has, and then someone that wants to write their story, what's one or two recommendations she has. We'll get to that. And she has a number of books, but talk about the pivot. I mean, talk about why that was so
Yeah.
special to you, the poem to yourself. I mean, ladies and gentlemen, there she goes, there she goes, there she goes. Yay! I mean, she's known as Stacy Inspires, believe it or not. You might seem quiet, but don't let her fool you over here, ladies and gentlemen. Stacy Inspires got some powerful punch. The pivot. Some people are seeing it for the first time. What's the book about, or who's the book for, and why is it so important?
Thank you so much. Well, I'll start by saying that the bulk of my books have been nationally published by traditional publishers. I've worked with a publisher called Baker Publishing Group. I've worked with HarperCollins and their Zondervan, and I've also worked with my own imprint and other publishers. But the pivot is something that I published myself, and it's very small, which is why I wanted to show it to you. It's purposely tiny, I think 4 by 6, because I wanted to produce something that women could put in their purses. And it's actually a poem. So it's a book, but it's a single book poem. So you could call it a chapbook. I don't think you can see the words because of my lighting. But The Pivot is a poem that poured out of me in late 2021. I got up one morning to work on my novel that I'm still writing, and all of a sudden this poem literally just poured out of me. So initially I thought it was about a pandemic because it talks about a woman who's pivoting through the pandemic, but it really became a poem about any pandemic that any woman is living through. Certainly men can be inspired by it as well, but it is about a woman, and it talks about how she danced and she pirouetted and she turned and she swayed and she looked at herself in the mirror and she told herself, you are worth it, you are enough. And so this single book is a poem, 20 pages, where it's really just taking you on this journey of a woman, which is reflected as you, because the last few lines say, she is we, she is you, she is me, who are overcoming. And so it's meant to inspire women everywhere that whatever you're going through, whatever season you're in, it is just a season. And you'll come through that season stronger and better for it if you can find a way to push through.
What an amazing book it is. And for folks, I know we normally do it at the end, but you got some amazing things going on. If they want to get the book, the one you self-published, where should they go?
Thank you. Yeah, this one I purposely didn't put on other platforms because it was so special to me the way it poured out of me. I knew it was meant for to be special for the women. So I actually self-published this on a special with a special printer. So there's like special paper, and like I said, it's a special size. So my other books you can get anywhere books are sold. This book in particular, you would have to get through my website, stacyhawkinsadams.com, or if you just type in thepivotshop.com. But just go to stacyhawkinsadams.com, and under books you will find The Pivot.
So we're going to recommend you go to her page. That's what I wanted to tell. For those folks who want to know, Shay, why'd you answer that question? We want you to go to her page and get the book, The Pivot, by the way. Now, this is probably a good segue for those folks that are watching or listening right now. A segue we have here called Today is My January 1st. You talk about The Pivot, by the way. And for those folks that know what we're going to do, because you show up every night at 11 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, you wait to say these magical words. You can go ahead and say these words now. Today is my January 1st. Happy New Year to you, by the way. And for all the new folks who are tuning in for the very, very first time, welcome to the Happy Entrepreneur Show. Today is our January 1st, is our personal mantra at the show. It represents a fresh start. It represents a do-over. It means our past, no matter how dark and gloomy that past is, or how bright and sunny that past is back there, the past no longer equals the future. And so my question for Stacy on the other side is really twofold. Number one, when you hear those words, today is my January 1st, what kind of goes through your mind? And number two, was there ever a time, because your life seems to be perfect so far, you start off young, you write books, you write other books. Was there ever a time where there was some challenge in your life or some setback? And if so, how did you bounce back from it?
Wow. Yeah, I've had many setbacks as often other people have. But first of all, I love the reset of the January 1st because I'm a January baby. So I love January. Go Capricorns. um, and I love the start of a new year because what I do honor January 1st as my reset, but my birthday is mid-January. So on my birthday, I do it again a couple weeks into the new year. And I love the idea of a fresh start that you can do every day. For me, every day that we're here is a day to start again, to reset, to pivot, to cha-cha. If you took 3 steps back yesterday, okay, now we got to take 3 steps forward again today. So I love the idea that every new day that we wake up and we have breath is a chance to try to get it a little bit better than we got it the day before. So that's the answer to that. And then you asked about a challenge, and I was giving this some thought. Like I said, all of us have hiccups in life and things that we overcome. The one that kind of struck me, because in terms of the writing that we've been speaking about and everybody having a story, kind of that alluded to the reader who found the book to be life changing. I would say after my first book came out, Speak to My Heart, which would have been in the early 2000s, I had just finished writing my second book, and shortly after my second novel was written and sent off to the publisher, it had not been published yet. My mother passed away. So this would have been in 2005, and I was very close to my mother, a young mother myself with two young children, 3 and 6 years old. Relied on my mom just for support, as any woman would do. Most people have the privilege of doing. And I remember that when she passed away, of course, I went into this season of grief. And probably about 6 months after she passed away, a friend said to me, "Hey, how's the writing coming? When's the next book coming?" And I remember it was a Sunday, and we were in the car. We were driving home from having visited some friends in the DC area. Again, I live in Richmond, Virginia. And I just kind of shrugged and I said, "I'll get back to that. I'm not feeling it right now." But that very night, when I got home, I signed onto my compact computer. That lets you know how long ago this was.
Come back. Come
It was
back.
like late night, maybe 10 p.m., and there was an email that had been written by someone at 1 a.m. And she said, "I live in Atlanta. I moved from Atlanta no, I moved from Alabama to Atlanta following a gentleman that I had fallen in love with. And this weekend, he was marrying someone else. And so I came home on Friday and prepared to take my own life. But my mother had mailed me your book, Speak to My Heart. And I sat down to just read a few pages, and I just finished the book, and I'm no longer going to commit suicide. And it said, I reflect with this character. I had written about a character who was dealing with domestic violence. And she's like, "I'm that character. I'm Erica in your story. I'm going to find some help, and I'm going to find my way back to my faith. And I want to thank you." And when I tell you, that shook me to my core, and it humbled me, because even though I was dealing with my own grief and I felt like I need to get through this and I'm going to set aside this writing until I get myself together, that was a reminder that I'm just a vessel. Like, I'm just the muse for the story, because everything that we write, every story that we share stories to help other people heal. Perhaps they help us too in the writing and as we revisit them. But the fact that I wrote that story, that I was obedient to finish that novel, meant that someone somewhere in the world was helped by it when she needed it. And so that just helped me realize everything I write, every book I write, every inspirational post, every message I send out, yes, I have the opportunity to birth it, but really I'm the vessel. And so I think that about everybody. I can tell you so many other stories of the people that have just been helpful to me. Like, my child was born, my first child was born, my daughter. I live in Virginia. My family was in Arkansas. I didn't have a sitter, and I kept going. I went through a couple of babysitters, and finally I was like, I think I'm going to have to quit my job to stay home and take care of her, because I don't have anyone that I'm comfortable, with taking care of her. And was going to do that and figure out, okay, freelancing, all those kinds of things. And a friend from church, her mother, who was retired, and she volunteered in the soup kitchen at church. And she said, "I will take care of her for you." And this was a close enough family friend that I trusted her. And she went on to become the nana for my child. She was my son's nana. There were a couple of other children from church she wound up taking in. But I share that story to say, had I ended my journalism career, would I've gone on to write the books? Would I've done the things that I have done? So when I think about the resume that I have and the things that I share, in large part, that part of that is due to my children's nana, to this retired woman who decided to help me take care of these children. And so that could have been a challenge, but there was a pivot around it because somebody else made it their purpose to help me live my purpose. So I wanted to share that as well, because people feel like you have to have this big dazzly thing. She literally was serving her purpose in the soup kitchen, and then she began to serve through serving my children and other children, and that made such a huge impact on us.
Man, how powerful is that? Thanks for being so authentic. Thanks for sharing. We certainly appreciate that. And, one of the questions I love to ask, we have time, we got a few minutes now, and that is, what's one of the best pieces of advice you've ever been given? And I'll frame it for the audience so they're aware you're not coming off the mountain with the 10 Commandments here, by the way. You've had a lot of mentors, I'm sure, along this journey of life. You read more books, and I'm sure you can't remember all the books you've read and watching videos and so forth, so much. But if you had to step back and say, wow, Shay, here's one of the best pieces of advice that was ever given to me that I want to share with someone else right now, what would it be and why?
You know, my mother would have framed it as don't burn your bridges if you think about advice. But the way I term it now and what the tenet that I live by, even in difficult situations, is to always leave people better than you found them. So whether it's something positive, whether it could be rocky or negative, you want to be able to leave the situation. I want to be able to leave the situation knowing that I showed up as my best self and I did my best and I can sleep at night because I did that with integrity. So I think that's the advice. Always leave people better than you found them. You may be encouraging them. You may leave them with a smile. You may leave them with food for thought that helps them grow, but you've done your part to leave them better than you found them.
Oh, I love it, by the way. What do you do for fun when you're not out saving the world and writing books and telling stories and speaking? What do you do for fun these days? What does fun even look like for you?
Oh, I love some line dances now. Don't ask me to do boots on the ground on this show. I love to line dance. I love hanging out with girlfriends. I like movies. I love live music shows. I'm going to a jazz festival this weekend. So I definitely fit in my fun.
That's crazy. I love it. I love it. Oh, we don't have the camera let you dance right now. We can't ask you where your fans at right now. Well, it depends on when y'all watching. That
Yes,
song
on
may be
the
old by the time
internet.
someone see this. But anyways, we come down the home stretch. A two-part question as we close out. Number one, what type of clients is your firm looking to work with these days? I don't know if you're taking on clients or taking on writing projects. I have no idea. And number two, how can folks best connect with you? Like, man, I want to bring her into my organization, or maybe I want to bring her to do some training for me, or I want to help coach me to write my book. What should they do and where should they go?
Thank you for asking. I will say I led a focused writers mentors group for about 8 years where I coached writers. And I actually just put it on hiatus last year because I have a commitment to finish 2 books this year. So that's the other advice for writers. You got to like figure out, you got to carve out the space and laser focus. So this year, 2025, I'm laser focused on working my writing, getting my writing done. So I'm not taking any coaching clients, but if anyone is interested in supporting my work, they still can visit stacyhawkinsadams.com, and that's where you'll find my books. I would love for you to pick up my books. I hope you would be inspired by them. I hope you would share them with others. And I do some public speaking. So if folks are interested in that, they could reach out and contact me about doing some public speaking. So I am still trying to fit some of that in this year. And they can find me on all platforms under Stacy Hawkins Adams. It is Stacy Inspires on Instagram. It's Stacy Hawkins Adams on Facebook. Let's see, I think I'm on TikTok. If I'm on TikTok occasionally, that would be Stacy Inspires as well.
Thank you so much for being on the Happy Entrepreneur Show. I appreciate it. I know you can always make more money, but you can't make more time. And you've given us the most precious resource you have, which is your time. So thank you so much. We appreciate it.
Thank you for having me.
And thank you to viewers for tuning in because, well, without you, we don't have a show. So we appreciate it. And you have a lot of choices and you're with us now. So take this and pay it forward or share it with someone else. And I never get tired of reminding you every night at 11 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, no matter what's going on in your life, whether you're going to that next level of success, hey, congratulations to you, or you've been hit with the punch that you never saw coming. The one thing I do believe is that today is your January 1st. And because of just that one reason, your best is yet to come. Your best is yet to come. Your best is yet to come. My being said, my name is Shay Brown. Stacey, we out of here. Goodbye, all you guys, late folks. And we'll see you where? On the other side. We out.